I think that's what really brought me to Reiki. But I have to say that it's been, after kind of going through the training, and I'm by no means an expert, but going through the training has really helped me put the wall up and be able to go, okay, I'm being conscious that I'm walking into a potential chaotic situation with a lot of different personalities. And how do I keep myself from feeling all of that? Because I have a big family and there's a lot of different colorful personalities. So anytime there's a family gathering, you kind of have to go in with some armor on, to be able to deal with that. Reiki basically means Rei is spiritual wisdom, Ki is life energy, and it's Japanese, and it's basically spiritually guided life energy. There's no religion attached to it. There's people of all different faiths that have become healers of Reiki. To become, a healer of Reiki, you go through this attunement, and there's different levels of the process. It makes sense when you're an empath because it responds to your positive thoughts and feelings. And I know, like, a lot of people hearing that might go, sure, like, I don't really believe it. And I was really skeptical at first until I had received a healing. And one of the things that I felt the very first time I had gone through a healing, it's like a white, when you blow bubbles for your kids, mm-hmm. and it's like all those iridescent colors around the bubble mm-hmm. in the sunlight. It's like a big bubble around you, and it's spinning like a sphere of just energy. That's what it felt like. It was just the sphere running of energy. And the healer was just channeling that from a higher source. And they channel that energy to you, and it knows where to go. So it's really the Reiki healer is a conductor, basically, of that energy. Kind of going through that process and learning about that process is it kind of teaches you how to put that veil around you so that when you go into those situations, especially as an empath, you can block a lot of that negativity around you. And I have to say it's been a lifesaver for me, being able to kind of just say, you know what, that's not my baggage, that's not my deal, that doesn't belong to me, and I don't have to own it, is really powerful when you feel everything.
Yeah, and that, I think that's a good point, is you feel everything.
Yeah.
I went to a Reiki class. Now, I don't do good in situations where I don't know people that are there. So going into a class of, like, how many, 30 people were there? And I was pregnant, too.
Yeah, it was, at that time, it could be 20, it could be 45 people, depending on who showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big class, and I don't know anybody, and there was clearly people that I felt had other issues, like
yep.
substance abuse,
yep.
which I'm not one to judge at all. Like, you're obviously there to gain some help and guidance, mm-hmm. and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's great. I feel you.
Right.
I see you, I feel you, all of that. It just made my anxiety level, like, shot way up. So I don't think I got everything I could have out of it. I mean, I did get a lot out of it. It did help. It helped a lot. But some of the things I couldn't connect with at the same time because of my anxiety, because of my environment. But I see the value in it.
Las Vegas is the number 2 or second highest amount of Reiki healers in the United States.
Wow.
The gentleman we're talking about is he has a business called Spirit Us Reiki here in Las Vegas. And he is truly one of the exceptional healers. It's hard to explain, but he's really, the work that he does is mind-blowing because he's really in it to help people. That's his primary motivation, is that however people come to him, really it's just word of mouth. For people to come in for, like, sessions of Reiki, like they do free Reiki sessions twice a week, right? Raise the vibration of the world. That's really his focus. And I was really skeptical. A lifelong Catholic, really acceptable. And I always tell him, you not only raise the vibration, you saved my marriage, and you've taught me how to deal with being an empath and being able to live without feeling the anxiety as much, because I haven't had a panic attack in a really, really long time. And I don't like taking medication. I don't like taking pills or anything like that.
Same here. I had natural childbirth just because
I wouldn't go that far. But
yeah,
I'm all for the drugs during childbirth. But like any type of medication that you take on an ongoing, situation, it impacts me. I can feel it, and it just feels cruddy, and I don't like taking stuff. And like, I'm not one of these, like, let me pop a Xanax because I'm having a panic attack. I'll work through it and trying to find more of like a natural way to deal with it. And I have to say, since like going through the Reiki process and becoming Holy Fire Reiki 2, which is like a second level Reiki, and I don't necessarily like performing it on other people. It's more for my own benefit. I feel like it's really helped me deal with those panic attacks. When we were in Pioche and the guy walked in with a knife.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, I totally understand it. Like, it's funny, but I'm like, I totally understand it. But even situations like that where people, like, I have a much more calmer demeanor in dealing with that instead of like flipping out.
Instead of my panic? Well, it wasn't just the knife. It
wasn't the knife. It was the energy. He had a weird energy to him.
He was transient.
Yep.
He was in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Yes, he did have a very large knife, which was probably for protection, but I felt that he was more of an aggressor than it would be like a defense of himself. He would be more of an aggressor. And immediately, like, you saw me change into a completely different person.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with those kind of panic attacks, to be honest. I don't enjoy them by any means.
But it's kind of its own category, though, because it's a kind of healthy awareness, though, too, because, it's even when they train they train Navy SEALs, right? And if you see them, they never have their back to the door, for example.
I never do.
Like, it's a situational awareness that they're trained for.
Yeah, I have to have, when I walk into a room, I need to know my exits. If I only have one way out, I am on such high alert that I can't focus on anything else. But that's PTSD. That's 100% from my situation. That's all that is. I know that. And I don't like those panic attacks, but also it's intuition too, which I love that I have such a connection with my intuition. I wouldn't change that for the world.
No, that's true. No, that really is true. I think one of the other things too, one of the pitfalls of being kind of an empath, they say, is that you tend to tell it like it is. Like, there's not like a lot of filter, because I tend to be really blunt. I think the industry that taught me how to scale it back a little bit, like, because you still want to be compassionate, right? Like, you want to be compassionate. You don't want to be rude. That's not the intent behind it, even though sometimes people can take it that way.
But I think that also is part of taking back your energy as an empath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Often feel as if your emotions don't match your experience. I remember I started crying in a grocery store like 6 years ago. Like, what? Why? I'm not a crier. It wasn't my feelings. I was in a good place. You value your own space and alone time. I don't know about you, but my alone time is everything. I love to be alone. It's a running joke in my family that I would be perfectly content on my own desert island.
Well, you know what I realized too is that I think I took it for granted, but traveling a lot for work, you get that built-in break, even though you're going through the craziness of traveling. Being able to, even like for 1 or 2 days, was always good. It was like enough to be away, to recharge.
Most empaths identify as clairsentient, and that's clear feeling, so strong gut feelings.
Yeah.
You can chat with someone and know their intentions without hearing them. You understand how people feel as if is an extension of yourself. Your intuition never shuts down. Crowds have a negative impact on you. That's something we talked about, and that's I know it does sound strange to other people who can't relate to that, and they brush it off as being overly sensitive. I think that's a good way to like discount it and just kind of like explain it away. An aggressive person passing you can feel like an energetic slap in the face. Have you felt that before?
I think that it's like you learn to wrangle it, right? Like it doesn't feel like you're getting hit with a Mack truck. It's like you're taking that in and learning how to wrangle it. I can notice it, right? I could walk into a boardroom and you notice the aggressive personalities right away and be able to manage it. I've learned how to deal with it in a way that doesn't impact me negatively.
Well, it's funny because it says, like, empaths are, everything I've read, empaths are problem solvers. We're always seeking answers. Unresolved or unexplained questions are frustrating to an empath, which is very true. I want an explanation for something that happens. I think that's part of the reason why I love doing, like, the spirit communications, because I want more of an explanation for something that I've kind of experienced but have no clue what's going on.
I don't know. I mean, if you kind of go back to your first, like, I don't know what your first experience was when you realized that there was more. I had some crazy experiences as a kid. And then as I had family members pass away, and they would very vivid dreams of them coming to me like days after they died.
Oh, wow.
With very specific instructions of what to do.
That's crazy. I never had anything like that.
It was very, when you go through it at like 11 or 12, and you're just like, what the hell was that? I guess it was just a crazy dream, right? I don't know. I think one of the, like, as an adult, though, my first experience, like really realizing that there was more and not having a lot of the filters that go on to you as you get older, saying, oh, there's no ghosts or there's no spirits or, whatever. But I remember going with a mutual friend of ours to a park here in Las Vegas, and she had all her gear, and I said, I'm just here to witness whatever you guys are doing, right? And she had the flashlights set up, and yeah, that's how she showed me. She had the camera on, and they were recording the whole thing. They had the flashlights on the brick wall, and supposedly this park in Henderson's haunted or whatever. So I was like, yeah, I'll go check it out or whatever. And I was just sitting there, and they were asking the spirit questions, and the left light would turn on and the right one would go on, and it would go off on cue, and the left and the right. I just remember sitting there in total amazement, like, holy crap, we're not alone. Nothing is going to manipulate left and right on cue like that. The flashlight started spinning, like the flashlight itself moved.
Whoa.
And it was on a flat surface, and it was a mag light. So it wasn't like a light flashlight. It was a heavy flashlight. And they had it all on camera and everything. And I just remember going, oh my God, like, I want to know more. Exactly what you're saying. It's like, I want to know more. Like, how is this possible? Something that you can't see. And, I guess I've always had faith, like, in God. Like, I have that, but this was something just physical, right? Physical in front of you. So it's like people can say, oh, well, you manipulated this, or there was a breeze, or like you can come up with 1,000 different excuses when you have these different experiences. Mm-hmm. But when they happen repeatedly, you've seen things. Going out to Rhyolite over by Death Valley, like that's a crazy old ghost town. It's pretty much deserted. Having experiences there with laser grids and seeing things move. Nothing out there. Middle of nowhere.
It's Death Valley. It's pitch black.
The brothel.
Yeah, it really it shook me for a loop. And then I remember standing at the train depot. When I was walking up, I felt like I felt like someone was having a wedding or a party. Do you remember that? Was it there was like an actual train railway like stop there, and it was supposed to be like
I mean, it was a lot of hustle and bustle because it was a train depot, right?
It was like a
so you had a lot of
town.
people coming. But at the same time, later on, like I think even like back to the 80s, before it completely shut down, they had wedding receptions there.
Really?
So yeah, like they held different, like you could rent it out for events. So it makes sense.
Did you tell me that when we were there? Like after?
I don't know. It's been so long. I don't know.
I know. It felt really good there. Like it had good energy in some spots, but the brothel, I was like, oh, I don't feel so good here. And they have is it a real grave out there? Is the madam or one of the prostitutes, or is it like,
I don't know if she's actually buried there, because I've heard both, like she is, and then I've heard she isn't. It's just kind of a marker for her, because people different trinkets and things for her. Like there was lipstick. People left lipstick and necklaces and things like that for her. I don't know if she's actually buried there. The Last Supper.
There's just a lot of folk art there. And then when we got there, that man, he's playing the flute. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
It was just a cool place to check out.
Like, I never put two and two together after we had gone out there, and I'd been out there, like, I don't know, several times. I had gone out there with some other people. They had done, like, an investigation, like a formal investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And we went into the school building at night, and they had put the laser grid up. And
yeah, I don't like that school building.
That's the only time I ever recall a spirit affecting me in a negative way. They were doing the dowsing rods, and they were going crazy, and then they had the laser grid up, and you could see people moving in the grid. All of a sudden, I got real sick. Like, I ran under the fence, through the dirt, and started gagging. The only time that's ever really happened to me was something negative. We found out later, we didn't know, but I guess the head of the school, she was like a real tyrant. So I think we pissed her off that we were there.
Yeah, we didn't do any investigating when we were there. We were just checking it out. Like, we didn't bring any equipment or anything.
Yeah, like, it never put two and two together. That, and I think it might have been an older montage, like, I don't know what season, but there's actually pictures of Rhyolite all over their entry to Ghost Adventures.
Oh, that's cool. I never noticed that. I've only seen, like, maybe 10 episodes. I think the first time I had experience was, I was super young. We lived in Oregon on a farm, maybe 5, maybe. I was in the middle of the fields, and we had, like, horses, we had livestock, we had a whole farm going. I had a pony at a time. And I actually got bucked off my mom's horse up there because of a snake. And I remember seeing a lady, like, standing by our house. And we had that typical old farmhouse, 2-story. Mm-hmm. And around back, there was a staircase, a wooden staircase that went all the way to the top. And I remember seeing this lady that I didn't know, not saying anything, but just, like, waving me over to her. And she had walked around the house. Got there, I could only see the bottom half of her skirt, and I remember that vividly.
Ooh, I just got chills.
That's not a person. At the time, we had puppies, and these puppies were going up the stairs to the top. So I start climbing up the stairs. I grab the first puppy, walk it down. Grab the second puppy, and so I'm up and down, and I'm a little kid, so this is tiring. I was like, all right, they keep coming up, because they see me up here. So right. As many as I bring down, they keep coming up. So I'm like, I'm going to stand up here, not at the very top. I was probably a story up. And the puppies would get up to me, and I would drop them down. I know, it sounds terrible, but this is how young I was, my rationale. And only one got hurt, one broke its leg. And
oh my God.
I know. But this is, like, my thinking. You could tell how young I was.
Yeah.
This is my problem solving as a child. I started dropping them down, and then I remember seeing the lady at the bottom where I was dropping the puppies, and she had her hands on her hip, and she was shaking her head at me.
Oh, like telling you to stop it.
Yeah, like I was in trouble. So I ran down the stairs. They were like, what were you thinking? And I was like, they were going to get hurt. But that was my first, like, real experience with something that was not human, was not normal. And I remember her, like, her hands on her hips, just, like, looking up at me. No, what are you when you're a kid and
yeah.
This is not normal. But I remember that, like, vividly. I saw one at the Downtown Grand.
Downtown Las Vegas is no joke. That place is hopping.
Yeah,
the activity.
I don't like the D. The D gives me the heebie-jeebies. I do not like going in there. A few years ago, they found somebody stuffed into, like, a laundry chute or something. It just gives me, I do not like it. The Riviera, I did not like going into the Riviera. There was a heavy-set man in overalls. He did not like me. I remember someone walking through him while I seen him. And you went down for the investigation, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, I did. I was on Ghost Adventures. I forgot.
Yeah, you were trying to investigate it.
They were picking people to investigate. They tweeted out, hey, we're going to be here, blah, 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 blah. I went down there, and we ended up being on that episode, like, the crowd shots. We didn't get selected.
Yeah.
But it was so funny because Amy brought all her gear. She was ready. She picked me. Let's go. It was cute.
That building has a lot of, I don't know how to explain it. It had a lot of energy in it. And that man with overalls, I just got a really bad feeling. He looked like a worker, like a maintenance almost. But he had overalls on, white overalls. Painter maybe? Painter overalls. And I had a friend that worked there. She's a cocktail waitress. And you know the part that was open to the strip that you could walk in and out of?
Yep.
There was no doors?
Yeah.
That's where I would see him. But that was before I kind of like got into it and knew anything about it. And then I saw a lady at the Grand in the hallway in the executive level where I work. So I'd spend an hour by myself on that floor. I remember turning the corner to go to the restroom, and no one was there. No one. We had a lock on the door. Full woman, but see-through. I froze. Completely froze. Scared the shit out of me.
And I think one of the things that, people come to Vegas a lot of times, right? And you're there for vacation and have a good time and what have you, but there's a lot of things that happen down the strip that don't courted.
Downtown, I don't like the Mob Museum. It freaks me out.
Yeah, the Mob Museum's got a weird, funky vibe in there. I've been there once. That, and you know where else too, at the Venetian, Madame Tussauds. Have you been there, the Wax Museum?
No, I haven't visited.
You talk about weird energy. That place, I think it's where they built it. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken, but I think where they built it was like where the stage was for like Sammy Davis Jr. and G. Garland, and like all of them sang and performed and stuff, is in the same like geographic location where Madame Tussauds is now at the Venetian. We went there when I first moved to Vegas, so that was what, I don't know, 8 years ago, something like that. I haven't been back. That place has got a real like funky energy too.
But you're also in a space with all these like wax figures and, well, I mean, and like,
it's got a creep factor on its own. Yeah.
Nick that owns Washoe Club thinks it's hilarious to put the mannequins in corners. Freaky ass building. Remember when we went up there? When he took us up there by ourselves?
I almost pissed my pants. I was so scared. Well, because you turn a corner and there's like a dude with a freaking cowboy hat and a gun, like just looking at you. It takes you by surprise. Like you don't expect it. Like you expect an empty building.
I could have killed him. And he laughed the whole time. He laughed at us the whole time. Thought it was the funniest thing ever. He does that on purpose. Like, he knows what he's doing. But Pioche has those stupid dummies. I don't know what it is about out of towns that have these dummies in there, like the courthouse. So when we went into the courthouse the last time, it was the day before it opened, and all the dummies were covered in sheets, and it just puts you on edge so bad.
Well, like, it's creepy, stuff. I mean, like, you're getting hits on things that are happening, and then all of a sudden you got these mannequins and traditional, like, theatrical, they look like ghosts.
And the seats are all full but still empty. I hated it. And that time we visited really freaked me out because I saw that black shadow at the back where the stairs go up to the courtroom. And that's when we had all those crazy millimeter spikes when we were calling out the names in the book of people that were jailed there. Remember I couldn't leave the doorway?
Yeah. I think if you were really interested, if somebody was listening and really interested in having like an old ghost town experience, like to the core of it really being haunted, go stay at the Overland Hotel, go to Pioche, go walk around and meet the townspeople, because they're really nice, but there is like this aura to it all. Like there's just this feeling when you're walking down those streets in Pioche. I mean, they say that the streets were what they used to bleed red, more than Deadwood, more than Tombstone, Arizona, because of all the killing. It has its own feeling. And if you ever really wanted to experience that in Nevada, like that whole Old West kind of vibe, definitely give the place a visit.
I think we'll talk about that place and go over evidence our next one.
Yeah.
And look, I have my 777 mug today. So I think that's a good, I think we can leave off there, and
yeah,
we'll talk about Pioche and play some of the evidence that we have. And there's some already on the Instagram page, which is Eternal Return Pod. Check out Ghost Train Podcast. On that, we were guests of Drews, and we talk about the possessed watch and all
its damage that it inflicted on her life.
All the trouble it caused, where it is now, Kristina's portal in her house. So we're just starting to get back to normal. But yeah, I think we'll go over Pioche next for sure.